G'day team, here we are in what I believe will be the last video of this first series that I'm going to make. So today we're going to be going through the properties box and the project browser. And it's going to kind of tie together everything that we've learned so far, hopefully. So we're going to kick things off with the properties over here. So the properties is kind of like the background information about whatever you've got selected. And if you don't have anything selected, it's just going to be the properties of the view itself. So if we were to select the topography, you can see in here a bunch of different properties. There's not too much to actually grab, change in here. You can change the material. There's a bit of identity data and a bit of phasing as well. Same deal with if you grab a tree, if you grab a window, if you grab a wall. Everything in here is an instance parameter. So what that means is if I was to grab just this window and change the head height to say 500, that's only going to change this one window because it's just this instance of this window. Whereas if I was to select the window and then go to edit type and then change the width in here to, let's say 1400, let's just be silly, go apply and OK, you can see that then has changed for both of these windows. Reason being, if we edit one of these properties, this is a type property, so it's going to edit everything for the entire, like all of the instances of that family or whatever it is. If you change something in here, it's just going to be an instance parameter. So under here, instance parameter, if you select it and go edit type in here, that's the type parameter. So important to know the difference between the two, and could save you some confusion if you've changed something and then wondering why it either has changed it for everything or has only changed it for that one thing. It's you've got to make that clear distinction between the two types of parameters. So pretty much everything in Revit has some instance and type properties. So if I was to click on the car, I could go through what each of these. Where if I click on the door, I could go through each of these. I could go through everything in the 3D view itself. There's really just way too many different type and instance parameters for each of the different things for me to explain. So it's something that you have to explore and learn at your own pace. So as you're working through a project or an assignment or a job, just have a bit of curiosity about what you're clicking on, about what all of these things do, because there's so much to this program. Like I've said, I've been using it for 10 years and I still learn things here and there, which amaze me sometimes. Like just quickly, I'll show you something pretty cool. So you can actually do calculations within like a parameter or any like number input box, I guess you'd call it in Revit. So say this roof already had an offset of 500, so that's cool. Say the engineer, the truss manufacturer came back and said, oh, we've got to drop it down 42.5 mil. So normally you just whip out the calculator and go 500 minus 42.5. But what you can do is if you put an equals sign at the front here and then go negative 42.5 or whatever the equation is and then go enter, it's going to work it out then and there. I'm going to make a generic tips and tricks video at some point, or probably a bunch of them really, but for everyone who's watching this series of videos, that's a little sneak peek of something that's going to be upcoming. All right, now so the project browser. A lot of these things we've already discussed, but this is just like a ledger of all of those different things. Absolute most basic overview we can do is you have views, you have legends. The reason that views and legends are separated is because a view can only be placed on one sheet. A legend can be placed on a bunch of different sheets. You've got schedules, which is like the brain of Revit. You can schedules is where it does a lot of the thinking and a lot of the automation for you in terms of working out, what all the doors are and how big they are, any comments associated with them, door schedules, window schedules. You can do it to like count instances of detail items. There's heaps and heaps to do with schedules. There's sheets. So sheets is where you're actually going to place all of your schedules, legends, and views. And the sheets are what you're actually going to be printing. So the sheets are where the title blocks are, and the views and everything else. The families this is pretty much everything in this Revit project at the moment. Okay, so if we were to go to wall and then scroll through all the different types of walls here, right? We could also go over to under the families in here, go to walls, and then this is where you can also find all of those walls and curtain walls and stacked walls and all the other types of walls in this job. It's the same deal for windows, doors, stairs, everything. Also included in that, it's not just the model components, so it'll be like detail items, annotation symbols, profiles. Profiles is probably one of the ones that I'll actually go in here to use more often. So really common example in a workflow is, okay, so this is our fascia, right? So the fascia is 1x8, which is in inches, but no biggie. Say we wanted to increase the depth of that fascia, right? It's not as simple as just going into edit type and then changing it in here, because the profile is just loaded in as it's just what's inserted into this fascia. So if we want to actually change the fascia profile, you'd have to scroll down to profiles, scroll down to fascia flat, and then go 1x8, double click on that, or right click, go type properties, and then you can change the depth of it. So let's change it to like 240, for example. And then that's increased the depth of it. Additionally, if you're working in a project which has, it's, say you've been in an office and the Revit template is 5-6 years old, there's going to be a ton of stuff in it. You can go, so we know it's called fascia 1x8, right? But say we didn't want to have to scroll through all of this. You can right click here, search, go 1x8, next, and then it's going to find it like that. So that doesn't seem that important when you've got a relatively simple Revit file like this, but when you've got one with hundreds and potentially several thousands of different kinds of components and everything, then using the search function is certainly handy. And then additionally, you've got groups here. So say, I don't think there's actually any groups in this project yet, but if we were to make a group, create group, go OK. It's going to show up under groups in there, and then it's in under detail groups, because it's a detail group where it's just text essentially. So if we were in the basement and then we didn't want to copy and paste it from there, we'd be able to drag it from here, and yeah, easy as that. After this, we've got Revit links. We don't have any Revit files linked into this job, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So if we were to go through the views a bit, if you were to press that little plusy thing there, it's going to show you all the different types of floor plans. So you can have different types of inherent floor plan. So this is just your basic generic floor plan, right? If we went to edit type and then changed or duplicated the type of floor plan, so say this was to be a structural floor plan, it's going to have its own little area here because it's a different type. So this is a generic floor plan, and you can see that we could change this to a structural floor plan here as well. But you can organize these into different levels of floor plan. So you could have like your existing plans are one type, or your proposed or another, or your demolition plans are different types. So the browser organization, you can get a little bit more savvy than just having all of your floor plans as basic floor plans. You can go really deep into this topic, but end of the day, you just do whatever you need to do to get the job done quickly. You're really just trying to save yourself from scrolling and spending too much time navigating the user interface when you could be actually, working. So ceiling plans are kind of like floor plans, but they're just looking upwards. That's kind of the main difference between them. 3D views is you're going to have your generic 3D view, but then you can also have a bunch of different interior views. Well, not so much interior. So you're going to have a bunch of different camera perspectives. So if you wanted to make a camera perspective, just use the little camera tool down here. Click, and then that's going to show up under 3D views in here. So building elevations is pretty straightforward. These are just the elevations. These are controlled. So if we go in here, we go reveal hidden. By default, the elevation category is hidden, but you can click on the 3, the 1, the 4, which is the detail number, or it's A4. You know what sheet it is. So this is just an elevation tag essentially. If you were to tab select this, then you can see where the elevation marker is. So at the moment, this elevation is, as you can see, this is east. If you cast your eye to the bottom left of the screen, it says elevation east. So if we were to have a look at east, it's all looking pretty normal to me. We go back here, let's drag that into the middle of the house, because then that's where the elevation is actually going to be cutting through. Go back to east, and now you can see it's cutting through the house. So that line is where the elevation is actually being projected from, which is important to know. So if you want it to be right on the edge of the house, then you can move it right on the edge of the house. Okay, so sections it's quite simply just where when you cut a section in the job, it's just going to show up under here. You can have different types of sections, just like you can have different types of elevations. So in our line of work, we do a lot of building elevations, so kind of external elevations, but we also do a ton of internal elevations as well, which is just a different type of elevation. Generally our elevations will be 1 is to 100, and the internal elevations will be 1 is to 50. That's kind of the rule of thumb that we operate with. So detail views we have gone over when we did the view ribbon. Same deal as drafting views and legends as well. Area plans, this is where you're going to actually calculate the area of the job. So that's done by drawing a boundary around whatever the house is. So say let's just draw a box there. Say this was our house, and this, you would then put an area within that area. Or if you're having to do different types, so say in this project you want to do an area plan of the basement, so you go area plan, you have to have a look over here to see that this first area plan is under the gross building. So there's either gross building or rentable. If you want these areas to appear in the same area schedule, it has to be the same area type. So we'll go gross building, basement, okay. Generally, I will say no to this because I don't trust this program to work out the boundaries correctly. And then we can go through and start sketching out the boundaries of the basement, and then it's going to give you an area like so. And then if we have a look in our schedule, which, oh great, there's no area schedule there, but these two, because they're in the same area type, will be in the same area schedule, which is very important. All right, so you should be well on your way to understanding how this program functions at a basic level now. You should be relatively familiar with the user interface just in general. Moving forward in future videos, I'm going to be fairly relentless with my as mentioned in a previous videos comments. So if you've gone through, you've watched everything, digested everything, then you'll be right there with me. But if you're finding this and you haven't seen the rest of the series, go check them out. You know, everything that I say, I believe is worth knowing. So as always, thank you all very much for watching and listening. Let me know, in the comments if you have any requests for videos or have any feedback about anything. But yeah, as always, thank you very much. I'll talk to you all soon.